Hi, this is Jenny Walterman, and this is my case study presentation for EDL852. Um, let's jump in. So in this case study, I'm first going to cover the key people involved in the case, and that is the Lightville School District, School Board and Community, Joe Rawlings, who is the superintendent, Susan Potter, who is the newly hired middle school principal for a building that's not finished being constructed yet, the Lightville Advisory Committee, which includes a few key players in this situation today. Helen Burke, who is the co-chair, she's a high school English teacher and a social studies teacher at the high school. Her brother is briefly mentioned, and he is on the school board. And then Dan Kelby, who is also on the advisory committee and a PE teacher at the high school. So the case summary facts, key facts. Liveville School District has a township in attendance area and two schools, two buildings. 60% of their attendance area is rural families, and then their elementary school building is K through 6, and their secondary building is a combined junior high school, and it's 7 through 12. So the primary problem we're dealing with is that there's a space problem, and there's not enough room for all of the growth that's been occurring. And so as a result, they're discussing three different options for solving this. And they consulted the school board, consulted an architect to try to flesh out what's the best solution. And so some of the options were: the first one, add on to the senior high building, bring a sixth grade over to that secondary building, and just give a little bit more room and move one of the grade levels to a different facility. The second one is to add on to both of the schools, but not move any grade levels from one building to the other. Just give both buildings room. And then the third one was to build a new middle school building, a whole new facility, and do that for middle school grades 6 through 8. And that would provide more space in the two existing buildings without adding on, while also providing a space for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So the community members were very conflicted on this. A lot of debates happened on what the appropriate solution should be. Contentious debates is how it's described. And then the school board, after considering all the options, decided to go with the architect's suggestion of that third option that I've highlighted in red, to go ahead and build a middle school building. And so after the school board voted, then the community had to vote, and that was also approved, but very, very narrowly, with just a 6% margin of a majority vote, so 53 to 47. So they've decided to build the middle school, but obviously there's still, almost 50% of the town did not think that it should be done. So it's going to be located on the same land, on the same property as the other two existing school buildings. And based on the design, it will take about 18 months for the construction. And the school board and the selection committee were formed to hire a new principal, which was approved that the new principal for the middle school would be hired 12 months prior to the opening of the new school building, so that they could get everything in place, whoever this individual was, and be ready for students when the doors open. So the selection committee and school board looked through applications, and they selected Susan Potter. She's from a neighboring suburban school district, an experienced middle school principal, and she is excited about shaping a new school from scratch, building that from the ground up, but a little apprehensive about the rural location, but thinks she's up for the challenge. More key facts. Excuse me. Ms. Potter gives three directives she's given three directives by Superintendent Rawlings, which is that she needs to staff her new building, and she needs to organize all the new programming, and that includes curriculum, extracurriculars, any instructional philosophy type values should be added to the programming, and then collaborate with building personnel on equipment, on furniture, and on fixture purchases. So those are the three prongs of what she needs to be doing in that 12 months prior to the school opening. So Ms. Potter quickly staffs her building. She brings a lot of people in that are already part of the district, which makes sense because you're bringing 6th, 7th, and 8th from the buildings already in the district and just moving them to another place. So after she moved people around within the district, she had 4 out of district hires. And so she determines to form an advisory committee, wanting to involve these legacy teachers that are already part of the community in the district to help her with some organizational decisions. And the advisory committee, when she forms it, she says that she wants it to operate democratically and that they will vote, majority will rule, and she wants to have someone uh, chair the committee, but she does not want to be the one chairing the committee. And this committee is made up of 4 teachers and 4 community members um, from the parents from the community. And so she really struggles on right from the get-go to get someone to agree to be the committee chair. Besides herself, everybody thinks that she's really more apt to do it and more experienced. And nobody really wants to step up and take on that role. Eventually, she gets Helen Burke to agree to co-chair, but only if Miss Potter agrees to also co-chair with her. So they go off and they meet together prior to the next committee meeting. And Ms. Potter mentions that they need to develop a vision statement for the school. And Ms. Burke says that she feels like Ms. Potter could just write it herself and that her brother's on the school board and anything that she wants to do that they'll just push through and it'll definitely get voted. And, but Susan Potter is trying to communicate that she believes collaboration will be more effective and working together and combining dreams and goals and views of what the core vision is and the core values of the community will be best for writing a collaborative vision statement rather than a singular point of view. So when they get to the next meeting, the committee also disagrees with Ms. Potter and agrees with Helen Burke about sharing the responsibility for writing the vision statement. And they're pointing to Potter's expertise, saying that she is the best one to write it and they will approve any plans she comes up with. And due to the political connections, it shouldn't be a problem with the school board. So this point of contention continues into the next meeting as Ms. Potter is saying that she doesn't want to be an autocrat where she makes all the decisions and where people are just mindless robots doing whatever she says. And some of the members of the committee say that, you know, if they all try to give their opinions, then they're just going to argue all the time, argue endlessly. And she's saying that we have a duty to shape the future and that everybody should be involved in that process. And at the end of this debating, there's no real conclusion or compromise. And so Ms. Burke asks Helen asks Susan to let them know specifically how Ms. Potter would like them to move forward. So Principal Potter explains the process that she would like to follow, that everybody would come with their thoughts on what they think makes up a good vision statement and their core values, and then they would combine that together. However, the school board, not the school board, the committee, the advisory committee votes 7-1 with 1 abstain. They vote that Potter should just draft the vision statement and then they will review it after she drafts the initial statement. So, potential legal issues, equity, diversity issues, and ethical issues. As far as legality, there's really nothing legal that has transpired. There, no laws have been broken. There's no contravening existing laws, no contract breach, no discrimination. There's been no harm to anyone, no harassment. Perhaps some feelings hurt and stubbornness happening, but neither one of those is against the law. Regarding ethical issues, I see and I heard when it was said in the case study that there's a potential conflict of interest with Helen because her brother's on the school board. And initially, I wouldn't think that that was the case because in small towns, you're going to have that kind of thing. But if she is wielding the fact that her brother is on the school board and will agree to whatever they do, that is definitely a conflict of interest because it's not an arbitrary neutral decision making process. It's indicating that there is insider agreements and a little bit of greasing the wheels, so to speak. So I feel like that's a potential ethical issue that needs to be navigated carefully by Principal Potter. Potential ethical issue is that Helen is forcing her own agenda and avoiding collaboration for whatever reason. The committee is diverting from Potter's inherent purpose and initial purpose for the advisory committee, and that was to promote the success and well-being of current and future students and staff. And she really wants to collaborate, and they have agreed to be on her advisory committee, but are not embracing the purpose and the tone in which the committee was formed. Potential equity diversity issues is, I mentioned there's no harm or harassment, but Potter creates a planning committee and wants someone else to chair it. And so that demonstrates that Principal Potter is trying to be equitable, bring in diverse ideas and individuals, where she's not steamrolling the whole opening of the school according to her own perspectives and her own views. And then as far as the committee and Helen, do they think Potter knows more and should compose the vision statement alone and submit it for approval? Or are they struggling with learning how to be equitable and collaborate through diverse issues? Potter wants that collective group think process for collective values and beliefs, and she knows that that is the best way to bring about a vision statement and goals for a building that most adequately represents and fairly represents all key stakeholders of the building. And so another equity diversity issue is that the committee did vote according to the policies of the group. They voted democratically how to proceed, and so is Miss Potter, when she moves forward, if she chooses to ignore the fact of how they voted, is she now not being equitable because she's not willing to follow the voting process that they all agreed on? So a summary of this case in one sentence is that Susan Potter, the new middle school principal, has established a vision committee to work collaboratively to create a vision statement and has encountered opposition and conflict as the committee has voted for her to draft the vision statement herself and then present to the board for approval rather than creating a document representing the equitable and diverse needs and opinions of the staff and community. So what are the missing facts? What do we not know that we still need to try to figure out? Well, with Helen, there's a few question marks. Why doesn't she want to collaborate? Why doesn't she want to collaborate on the vision statement? Is it just that particular task that she doesn't want to collaborate on, or is she against collaborative efforts? If Helen would participate in an open forum brainstorm session on middle school values. So that's my missing. I don't know if maybe the initial way that Ms. Potter went about trying to discuss the vision statement, maybe if it's more of a brainstorming type session, she would be more open to that. That's a question that I have about that. Missing facts, question marks for Ms. Potter, the principal, why she doesn't want to compromise on the vision statement approach. I'm pretty sure we know why that is, that she's wanting to be collaborative, but would want to dig in there and just be sure that we see all the sides of this conflict, both internal and externally. If this approach is a deal breaker. So if they refuse to help her draft this vision statement together, is that a deal breaker for Ms. Potter? Can she move on with other goals that she has for the advisory committee and circle back to the vision statement later after they've gotten a few other tasks or decisions made under their belt where they're learning how to be collaborative, and then come back to it? If she will bring in other members to draft a vision statement, what are her possible solutions? And then we need to know why Mr. Kelby, the PE teacher, believes that if he shares his dreams and goals, it will cause endless arguments. What about the dynamics with these people makes him believe that he can't share his dreams and goals? That's a big question for me. Mr. Rawlings, the superintendent, what are his expectations for collaboration in determining school programming and the scope and sequence? Does he expect her to collaborate and so therefore she's just honoring his requests? Or is he just needing her to check off the items on the list and she's trying to execute it in the best way she can? The place, any more questions about this is, I want to determine what the district mission statement is and see if that's a springboard for the middle school vision statement. What is the district and superintendent's expectations about a building level mission statement or vision statement if there's already a district one? And then what are the community dynamics regarding unifying over key issues? And is there a community approach to leadership that is more of top down thinking where individuals are not used to a more collaborative experience with their decision making process? And so that might be why they are responding in the way they are to her efforts to try to bring about a collaborative meeting. And then another thing I want to know is if the tensions are still pretty high after the vote over the building, and are any of the people in my vision and planning committee down here at the bottom, if any of those people already know each other, if they work together, if there's any internal fighting or conflicts between those 8 people. And I guess I don't necessarily need to know if they all believe in that the new middle school was the right move or if they voted for it. I don't need to know that, but I think it would speak to if they didn't really believe that the building was the best move, are they going to struggle to write and draft a vision statement that outlines the goals and growth purposes for the building? So the reviewed priorities, potential damage is that there's a committee conflict for sure. It could lead to further contention between Susan and the community and her staff. The middle school could have a vision statement that doesn't represent the core values and priorities of the community. The committee could lose their faith in Susan as a leader if she sets out policies and procedures and then does not follow them. The new middle school, which was approved by a narrow margin, could lose even more community support if she doesn't draft a vision statement that it accurately represents all the individuals of the community. And then the vision and planning committee might be disbanded if it cannot learn to work collaboratively with other stakeholders. And then other priorities, key stakeholders, Susan Potter, she might lose faith in her staff and they and her if they can't learn to work together and listen and collaborate. She might have problems fulfilling requirements outlined by the superintendent if she digs in her heels at this moment and they're not able to make any progress moving forward. So she might get behind on her timeline of the expectations from the superintendent. And she might lose the faith of the school board as an effective leader if she's not able to move forward in a timely manner. The Lightville community, school staff, and students, they have a responsibility to themselves, to their community, and to the students. And they have a responsibility to a core vision and value of the town. And so they need to recognize these responsibilities and these priorities in order to embrace what the new building could offer to the community and the students. And then the superintendent should be consulted on the resistance from the committee, and Susan should ask if he can provide any insight into the group dynamics, those 8 people, what does he know that he could possibly share, or any advice he could give. So some potential solutions, I came up with 4. First one would be for Susan to just throw in the towel and write the vision statement alone, just get it done, and then submit it for the committee to review. The second one would be for her to disband her current committee and start over with a new one and try to be very deliberate and specific in communicating to her new group that it's going to be collaborative and that it will be chaired by a member of the group that is not Ms. Potter, and that they will work together to complete the tasks needed by the group. Third option would be to dig in and wait out the committee and just to continue to reroute conversations and come back and approach the next meeting with the same expectations for collaboration, and then outline all the reasons why a vision statement written collaboratively is for the best and continue to engage student learning. So try to do some more continuing learning to her advisory committee on why it's important that they collaborate, and then wait for them to agree. And then the fourth option is to bring in a neutral third party to help facilitate collaborative brainstorming. And since this group is in an impasse, a neutral third party could serve as a mediator or expert on collaborative brainstorming, possibly even team building. And this person could help facilitate brainstorming in a non-confrontational manner to put the committee more at ease and more comfortable with sharing ideas with each other for collaboration for the betterment of student learning and engagement. So pros and cons of each of these ideas. For option one, the pros are that the vision statement will get done and everybody can move on with their lives. The con is that there's no input from the community or committee, and that may result in a vision statement that does not represent the core values of the community or the district. There's no input, may distance Potter from the community and staff and set a precedence for autocratic leadership rather than a collaborative group think approach. Option two, pros and cons. The pros would be the vision statement will be done potentially as a team if her newly founded team works together. Cons are that the potential fallout from the disbanded committee might create a conflict and contention between her staff and herself in the fall when school opens up. Option three, the waiting it out option. The pros are that the potential end result is that a vision statement would be written by more than just Principal Potter, but it could be true that that forced collaboration may backfire and result in deeper conflicts and strain on the committee. It could mean that waiting out the team may not result in a vision statement being written collaboratively at all because they may also dig in their heels and neither one want to work. And so waiting out the team may place delays on Ms. Potter's core responsibilities to the middle school and the superintendent and the school board. The fourth option, the neutral third party to facilitate collaboration. The pros of that is that it alleviates the standoff between the committee members and it teaches members how to brainstorm, work together, and collaborate for the good of the students and the community. And it will not only affect their process with the vision statement, but also positively impact future projects and collaborations that the committee would face. Cons is that the group may still be resistant to collaboration even if you bring in a third person, and the group may have deeper conflicts than Ms. Potter realized, and the group may have difficulty agreeing on core values for the community and the middle school. So the option that I chose, my best option, is that fourth option. I believe the fourth option is the best for this situation because usually when people are at an impasse or they're not agreeing with each other, after about 30 minutes in any kind of disagreement, people just start repeating themselves again. And the longer that goes on, the less people listen. And so bringing in somebody new might help to diffuse that tension. And it will allow Ms. Potter to continue with the group in a neutral and different way and try to facilitate a collaborative environment with a new individual that can help diffuse any tension or nerves about brainstorming and about sharing out ideas on vision and philosophy in a painless way. In addition, it will help communicate with the group that others can help with the decision making for the betterment of the community and students of the middle school by deflecting the focus off of Susan or Helen by bringing in a neutral third party. So how am I going to implement this? What steps am I going to go about for that fourth option that I chose? First, I'm going to reach out to Helen and talk to her and apologize for any conflict or miscommunication that's happened between the two of us in the past few meetings, and just really want to let her know that she's really valued on the team. I want her on the team. Her input is wanted and needed, and that I hope that she will start to let us know her thoughts on different aspects of tasks that the advisory committee will take on, and then notify her that the next meeting will be slightly different and that we will be reviewing the established policies and procedures for the group, and that a team building specialist will be joining the meeting to help reset the tone of the group and work on group dynamics. Next, I want to communicate with my committee members so that they know what they're walking into at the next meeting, and I'll let them know that there's going to be a guest to help with team building and group dynamics, and then ask each member to come with one idea of what they think makes a good team. So by asking them to come and share out something that's not really vision statement oriented, it gets them all to have a discussion and collaborate and bring ideas to the table in maybe a less pressure cooker type of situation than the pressure to draft a vision statement for the whole building. Next, third, I will communicate with the superintendent, let him know of the delay in getting started, what is happening with the struggles to collaborate, and just seek out some advice. Ask the superintendent for any input or backstory on the group that would be helpful for moving forward. And I would like to do that before the next meeting so that if there are any issues between any of the people on my school board or my advisory board, I know that before I walk into the room next time. Um, and then lastly, fourth, I will communicate with the guest facilitator that I'm inviting to the meeting and explain what the goals of the committee and their first task are. Ask the facilitator to encourage group participation in a non-threatening and conversational manner. So trying to keep it light, trying to keep people involved, but also teach them how to work together in a way that seems activity driven. So these are all my references that I used, and thanks for watching.